Release video player. Okay, just gonna close that. Oh, so we're gonna be streaming this morning. How fun.
Fun, fun, fun. All right, well, y'all have a good session. Thank you.
Thanks, Lena.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Put this in percent mode. All right, it's kind of early for me. It's almost, well, it's just about 8 a.m. in the morning. So it's Thursday morning here. I'm actually in Canada, in Victoria, BC, which is the most western province.
Okay, right. So where are you from, India?
Well, probably originally, yes, I was. My parents are from Fiji. Fiji Island. Yeah.
Oh, Fiji Island.
Yeah.
So you were not born in India?
No, and my parents were born in Fiji as well, but my and I think also my mom, my grandparents as well, but originally they would have come from
Okay,
India.
right.
Yeah. Welcome everybody. Awesome. Come on in. Great to see everyone this morning. It's morning for me. It might be a little bit later for you. It's good to everyone. Hi, Dee Dee. I have my Get Set Up t-shirt. Actually, you can't almost see the logo on there. Let's see if I can go like that. There, you can kind of see if I sit up a little bit more straight. Hi, Yvonne.
Hey.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit better angle. I think I have to ask them to get a little bit smaller of a shirt because this one's a little bit baggy on me. But that's good. That means that all the good nutrition I've been doing, I'm losing a few pounds. So that's really good. Welcome everybody. Come on in. We are going to get started in just a minute or so. And I'm going to just, let's see, I guess we'll start the recording now just so I don't forget to do that because that has happened a couple times. So who do we have in here today? I love it if you could put your camera on just for a couple minutes, maybe just to say hello. And you can see there, oh, Yvonne's got pictures up. That's kind of cool. Victor is here from support. He's just put a little message in the chat. So if you're having any issues with your sound or you're having issues just in general, maybe with Zoom, just call out to Victor and he will be able to help you in the background. Usually when my class is quite large, I don't always get a chance to go to the chat. So if I can't answer your question in chat, please just unmute yourself and or give me a little hand. You know, you can do the little icon hand with reactions down at the bottom. You have a little reactions button, or you can just put your hand up. I can see it. Hopefully, I don't know how many we're going to have here that shows up today. So welcome, welcome. And all right, yeah, that's good. Thanks, Cindy. And yeah, just in case I missed your question, because I do like to answer all of your questions. I do not mind spending a couple minutes after our hour if you've got a burning question and you would like it answered while we're in class today. So let's see here. Why don't we kind of get started and people can just join in where they are. So let me share my screen now. So make sure we're all in the right spot. So yeah, today we're going to do learn about nutrition basics, and very specifically, what does nutrition look like as we age? I think it's an important question because a lot of the nutrition information out there and the studies and things are not necessarily studies that are performed on older adults. I mean, let's face it, a lot of studies are usually even males, so that doesn't even take care of half of us. So today's class is called Nutrition Basics, What You Need to Understand. So nutrition is our best defense and offense too. Has anybody taken this class with me already? This is the second time I'm teaching it today. I only did it once last week. I encourage people, if you feel like you got a lot from the class, but you're still feeling like, maybe if you heard it again, please come to the class. I do this ad lib. I mean, obviously I look at my slides. I do listen to the questions that come in and the information. And so it will sort of develop, this class will develop and have a little bit more, maybe something you hadn't heard from before. Okay, so for all of you that don't know me, my name is Ravina. I'm one of the guides here. I'm pretty new. I'm going to say I'm pretty new. I started and I think it was end of January. Loving it. It's really wonderful. I've been involved with health and wellness all my entire life. I did a nursing degree and I did functional nutrition diploma because I was really interested in prevention. And one of the things that I really made me sad when I worked as a nurse is just seeing people sick and injured in the hospital, and just how hard it was and heartbreaking it was for loved ones and for the individual when they got sick and they ended up in the hospital, not something they were expecting maybe in their life. And all of a sudden they've got some disease that just sort of crept up on them. And so I have dedicated my time now to prevention and like, what can we do to just keep ourselves healthy? Sure, we can get to see our doctor on hopefully a regular basis and keep tabs on things like our blood work and, our weight, I guess, can be a factor, and how our clothes are fitting us. But what other things can we do, or what should I be aware of as I age, to do with health? And today specifically about nutrition. So we are a training organization here at Get Set Up, a fairly new company, and we are educators. So that's what our job is as guides, is to educate, and we do learn from each other. And so that's great. I love when people put their camera on. We're all kind of learning. There's a class, I think, on learning how to do your background. So, say you don't want people see your messy bedroom or wherever you are you can change your background. Like, it looks like Yvonne's got a background on. Hi there, nice to see you. So even if you want to just stick it on just for a few minutes, and so we can see your face, because that's how I remember who my learners are, if I can put a face to the name. And we are recording the class. I hit the record button already, so don't forget. You can ask for a recording at the end. Just send an email to help@getsetup.io. And we are live streaming today. What does that mean? Well, we have a little TV channel, and I think on our Facebook Live it can show up. So certain classes every day we are live streaming. What that means is if you were unable to register for my actual class, you can live stream in and take a peek in, and you can't ask questions because you're not right here. So next time I ask those that are live streaming, come on into the class, because sometimes I give away, a nice handout at the end, and an email, and I don't know who you are, so you're not going to get that. And lastly, we don't get paid, for talking about products or services, just so no kickbacks, that sort of thing. We always like to say that in the beginning of each class. So objectives today, we're going to learn, how does nutrition change as we age? There are some differences. I was quite surprised when I was studying this. What are the 4 factors that affect nutrition as we're aging? And we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition basics. I'm going to unpack it down to like the very bare bones, like what does nutrition mean? And then I'm going to talk in the end about I picked 3 important nutrient choices that I feel are very important as we age. So sit tight. We are going to start now. So I want to ask a question, just to, you can put your hand up or give me a nod of the head. Does anybody here find it rather confusing at times, maybe not all the time, but at times, understanding what is considered optimal or proper nutrition? Yeah. And why is that? Like, why is that? Same with Nadine. I'm going to say because every, I don't know, few months, isn't there a new diet out there? A new way of eating that's so great? Your neighbor's doing keto, and what does that mean? And are we all doing it? Like, how long are we supposed to do it for? Is it unsafe to do it longer than, X amount of weeks? Like, there's so much information out there. And the other thing I feel that maybe why it can be confusing to us is, don't we have access to like almost everything, it seems? look, for example, the internet, there's some good information, there's some not so great information. There's people maybe flogging their, I don't know, their product and giving you stories on, what such great weight loss or energy. And you don't know even what to believe anymore. Like people, like, I feel sad for people like, famous people like Dr. Oz, for example. He gets his face plastered on stuff that he has not been a part of. They just take his picture and throw it onto their bottle of something. Anyways, the fact is, it can be confusing. Today, we're going to break it down so it's not so confusing. So let's get started right away. So what changes as we age? Well, the first thing is, as older adults, sometimes that we live alone, you might not be taking time to prepare the meals like you say you did when you had like a full family at home. Eating healthy and balanced meals, I'm not going to say lazy, because it's not necessarily lazy. It's more just, it's tough cooking for yourself every day in, day out, especially right now where we might not be able to get out to eat. So we're doing all our meals at home. It gets tiring, especially if you're on your own, or maybe there's just the two of you. So keep that in mind. As older adults, it can just get tiring having to think about what should I make for dinner. It's different when you've got a family or you got kids and it's, somebody's birthday, or you're going to make their special food, or there's just more things going on, and maybe people to actually help with preparation. I know, like, I've been married now 4 years, just 4 years, and met my husband later in life. But before that, I lived on my own. And believe me, there was times like Friday night, I've finished work after a long week. I did not feel like making something delicious, or like I'd like to eat something delicious, but I was not going to sit in the kitchen preparing. So let's think about that. It's all also, kind of, I won't say boring, but well, we'll get more into it, but it can be a little bit depressing, when you have to think about it for yourself all the time. All right, so we've talked about this one. That was a question I asked. Let's face it, nutrition can be confusing, and that's because we're told, eat red peppers, don't eat red peppers. Really watch your fat. No, eat all the fat you can. We get all these mixed messages about everything to do with nutrition. There's mixed messages. One person will be for it, one person will be against it. This is one that certainly we would see right now for sure, but there are challenges. If there's an illness, if there's a disability, if there's any kind of isolation, which, let's face it, that's happening, that can prevent us from getting the food that we need to maintain that healthy lifestyle. The picture here sort of says it all right now. I'll admit there's been times when I've just not felt necessarily safe, or I know, oh, it's a busy time at the grocery store, I am just not going to go. We'll make do with what we have in the house. Has anybody done that, say, recently? Yeah, Dee Dee's nodding her head, because our grocery store is not that big, the one that we walk to. And if we miss that window when it's quieter, like after we've done our workout and it's early in the morning, I do not want to go in there at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Even though they limit how many people can go in the store, you're still kind of like bumping into people, and you've got your mask on, but still. So if you are worried at all about that, it's tough. So it has put a bit of a strain on us. The fourth one, I really want to stress this one, because, if anybody's had babies, now I don't have children, but when your kids were young, wasn't that just such a big focus? You got to make sure the kids get the right nutrition. We're very careful, make sure we do the steamed carrots at dinner, and, we've got all the components of a good meal. We're very, very conscientious of nutrition when we're dealing with sort of younger people. But guess what? When we're aging, let's face it, we are all aging, but when we're as older adults, nutrition is just as important as when we were young. So keep that in mind, and don't forget that you deserve to have good nutrition when you're older, and not think of it like, okay, I've made it to 60, I've made it to 65, or, I've made it to whatever day, whatever year, and I don't really have to worry as much about nutrition. Now, granted, my father, who's 87, he will say, hey, you know what? I made it another day. If I feel like eating, whatever it is, sometimes it's ice cream or something like that. He says, I'm just going to go for it. And I agree with him. You're 87, you feel like a bowl of ice cream for dinner. Okay. Once in a while, have that bowl of ice cream for dinner. But nutrition is important for all of us. Okay. And this one's important too. If we become undernourished, and just because you are of an optimal weight or even overweight does not mean that you are nourished. There's a very big difference. Unfortunately, if you look at statistics, if you actually Google and studies on this, North America, so here in Canada and in the United States, we are a society of more and more, I'm going to say, overweight. I don't like always using the word obese because that just is a sort of a scary word, but we are a society of very overweight. A lot of us are overweight or very overweight, but guess what? We're starving. Like we are starving our bodies. We are undernourished. We're eating a lot of stuff, but we're not getting the nutrients that we need. And we're going to talk more about that, the nutrients. Well, actually, in my 7 healing foods class, I really talk about nutrient dense food versus regular food. So I'll just mention it since I mentioned it now. Nutrient dense food are foods that are so packed full of vitamins and minerals that when you take that food in, your body will use some of the minerals and vitamins in that food, say a banana, nutrient dense food, to digest and process that food item. And then you've got this little surplus of vitamins and minerals. So that gets to be stored in your body for when it needs it the next time. But why, as a society, we are overweight, we're feeding ourselves things like, we're drinking pop, we're eating chips, we're eating processed foods, lots of packaged foods. Those foods, guess what? They hardly have any vitamins or minerals in them. So, but your body, anything goes in your mouth, your body still has to process it. So to process that food, it's got to grab a mineral here, a vitamin here. And if your stores are getting low in your body's slowly slowing down. And now your stores in your body are reduced because you're eating all these foods that don't provide you the vitamins and minerals, like the nutrient dense foods, like the vegetables and fruits that have lots of vitamins and minerals. So you can see how you can start to deplete your stores. And now you're eating a bag of chips and your body still needs energy to process it, but there's nothing left in your body, like in terms of the minerals and vitamins. That's how we've become. So we're starving ourselves. Like our bodies are starving. They're undernourished. And of course, if you are undernourished, you're not able to fight infection as well. Your immune system is lower. You might start even noticing cognitive issues. And this is so important as we age. And, we may think we're getting dementia. In my optimal brain health class, which will be half an hour after this class, I talk about how to improve brain health. And it is a lot to do with the foods we put into our bodies and what our brain's like. But you can start to be forgetful because your nutrition isn't up and balanced. Very important. This is something I want to talk to you about. Now, this might be yourself, or maybe it's a parent, if you have a parent that's still alive. Just like I talked about, when you live on your own, you can kind of get a little bit, I don't know, just not feeling like making something nutritious. There is such a thing as tea and toast syndrome. You can look it up. It's a real thing. I learned this in nursing years and years ago. According to Wikipedia, tea and toast syndrome is a form of malnutrition, and it's commonly experienced in the older adults who are just either they're unable to stand up and prepare a proper meal, and they're just not able to tend to themselves appropriately. So guess what? They end up having a lot of the time for supper or dinner. Yeah, you guessed it, tea and toast. They make themselves a cup of tea, they put the toast in, it's quick, they find something to put on the toast, like hopefully they might have an egg or a hard-boiled egg or something, some kind of protein with it, but many are eating this style of thing for their main meal or for their dinner. Or maybe they had a little bit more at lunch, so they think, I don't need to do anything for dinner. What this does, it's a thing called, I always forget the name, but basically it means low salt in your body. you're not getting those minerals and the vitamins in your body because you're doing this tea and toast syndrome. My grandma, she was guilty of doing this, and Mom and I would come to visit her probably once a week, and Mom would bring, all sorts of little things, and she'd go into her fridge, and my grandma just got tired of cooking for herself, and she was like this wonderful, amazing cook, and would cook for the big family and the neighbors, when she was younger. And she lived till she was 96. I think she was just about 97. So she lived a long life, but this tea and toast syndrome, kind of crept in towards the end. All right, so we're going to look now at the factors that affect our nutrition status as we age. So we're going to look kind of more like as factors. Now, we've talked about a few things, but these are sort of the areas to think about. You might want to take a few little notes, but it'll all make sense to you. And if we have time at the end, we can talk about some of our own experiences. So the first one are the social factors, and we kind of touched on this already. So you're just finding yourself a little less interested in eating. Number one, because you're living alone. And unfortunately, if you've just lost a loved one, that could just be, you're feeling sad, you're not hungry, so you're not feeding yourself proper food. As I say, the tea and toast syndrome probably comes in. One thing, and I'm trying to think which class I teach that in. I have just a few classes, but it could be, it could be just this class. Maybe it comes up, but we'll find out some of the reasons for nutrition and why maybe we're just not feeling like eating. There's things that change with us as we age. Yeah, it is in this class. So if you are living on your own, I want you to be very cognizant of this social factor, where as I say, we just are disinterested in cooking. What's another social part of the social factor? This is an important one, especially depending on crops and weather. And, you go to the grocery store and you're like, oh my gosh, how did, what's something that I've seen go up in price? Like, how did avocados go up in price so quickly? And now you think you can't afford to buy it because it's now $2 and something for just one avocado. A lot of us as older adults are on a fixed income. I don't know who here is on a fixed income. I mean, I have my husband who's still working in the sort of working world, corporate world. So he's working full time, but I'm on a fixed income. I get in Canada now, I'm getting my pension already. It's a fixed amount. It's not a huge pension either. It's a fixed amount. So there could be some of us that are finding it a little bit troublesome to afford food. That can happen, especially when there's the fluctuation, or you hear in the news, inflation, groceries are going to go up X amount %. Like, you hear those stories, right? So sometimes there's things we just can't afford anymore. We think we can't afford it. We're all trying to eat healthier. We're trying to eat nutritious, local foods sometimes, or we're looking for organic foods, which can be a little bit more expensive. We're trying to be healthier and eat organic, but it's like, whoa, those bananas are expensive, or, whatever it is you're trying to buy organic. There are some tips on buying organic and what things I would suggest that you for sure buy organic. But let's face it, if you're living on a fixed income, you might have trouble. And guess what? We are not always feeling that confident to sort of mention to a son or daughter, like, oh, I didn't buy any meat this week because it was so expensive in the store. We're quite, I want to use the word embarrassed or ashamed even, that we can't afford the food that we want to get. So that is a big social factor. This is all part of social factor, like the first factor. And some of us might be too proud even to go to the food bank or to a place where they're giving food out. So, we're not talking about, we have a lot of homeless here. We have a very mild temperature year round here in Victoria where I live. We have a lot of homeless people. A lot of them are choosing just to live on the streets because of whatever. And some truly couldn't afford their home anymore. Then they started living in their car. Then they had to give up their car. So now they're living out on the street. And I don't think that they're on like we call it social assistance here. We changed it from social welfare, I think it was called social assistance. There is not a lot of money that a one gets for a month to be able to pay for housing and for proper food. All right, the next one. So I was trying to remember which class was it that I talked about this, because this is super, super important. Now, I want you to take this one in, because sometimes as we're aging, we think, is there something wrong with me? Am I getting sick? Am I sick? Boy, my appetite is not like it used to be. Now, that doesn't mean what you can actually eat, because maybe once you get the appetite going, you're able to eat the same as you were before. But it's a fact. This is research. As we age, what happens is we tend to lose some of our muscle mass from our younger years. When you have less muscle mass, you need less calories. And so naturally, as we are aging, we might feel less hungry. It might not be for everybody. So just keep that in mind. Maybe your appetite is still strong and you've got that appetite, but naturally our appetite will decrease as we age. So I don't want you to mistaken that for, I'm not feeling good. I'm not eating as much anymore. I must be sick. And now the next thing you know, you've created some sickness in your body because you think you're sick, but you are not. It is just a natural thing that our appetite might start to reduce as we get a little older. There's a reason. There's some other reasons too. So we tend to lose some muscle mass. Now that's why strength training is really important as we age. It's good to like get out and walk. It's good to do some form of strength training, even if it's holding like cans of soup and doing some bicep curls. But as we get older, we also start to produce a few less hormones, the hormones that trigger our hunger. So you've got the lower muscle mass and decrease in the hormones that kind of give us that sort of hunger feeling. Those two things, and I think in the picture here it's showing medications. There are some medications that can do that. You know, just like, not that I'm saying to start smoking, but smoking, for some people, smoking really helped to curb their appetite. So in our younger years, you might have been smoking. Maybe that helped keep your weight in check. I mean, boy, the effects of smoke is, you know, the bad effects outweighs the fact that you can try and stay a natural optimal weight. But it can do that. Certain medications can make you feel less hungry. This one is interesting. I did not know. Did anybody know this about our sense of smell and taste? How it can diminish? Did you know that? This one? You've experienced it then? Okay. So I'm 55, so I'm considered an older adult, but I still have a pretty keen sense of smell. I do have that because I always smell something before my husband, and he's quite a bit younger than me, but like we just went away for a 2-day for our anniversary, just up island. We didn't go too far. You know, we did the social distancing and the mask and all that stuff. We haven't had our vaccines yet, but we were staying in a hotel, and beautiful, kind of like on the water in a place called Ucluelet, gorgeous place here in BC. Well, we had the window open, and all of a sudden, like instantly, I can smell somebody smoking, and it's like a smoke-free hotel and environment. Nobody's supposed to be smoking, but we were just inside, and all of a sudden, right away, I had that. And so I know that my sense of smell is still pretty strong, because my husband's like, I don't smell anything. I don't smell anything. I mean, it had to be like in his face, and then he could smell it. Our sense of smell and taste do tend to diminish, like get a little bit less or diminish quite a bit as we age. There is that tendency. So what does that happen? What does that mean for us? So say we're lucky that our partner's making us a meal, or there's something cooking and you were outside doing some chores, you come in. It's not going to be like the olden days. We come in and go, oh, I can smell that great pie baking or that beautiful stew that's cooking on the stove, you might not have the sensory for those things as much as you did when you were younger. So so when you think about it, it's usually the smell that gets our appetite going. So again, another reason why as we're aging, we might have some diminish of sense of smell and taste. So we might start to think that we're kind of sick or there's something wrong with us. Now I'm not relating this to COVID. I know I haven't done a lot of research on it, but there's a thing, if you lose your sense of smell altogether, like you can't smell peanut butter, there's some rule, like if the peanut butter is this close and you can't smell it, you better go get tested because you might have COVID. I'm not referring to that. I mean, although it might feel related, this is just in general about our sense of smell and taste. So if you're noticing that, that's okay. That's kind of normal. As I mentioned, sometimes we have a duller sense of taste because of the medications we're on. Now, the picture shows heart, cholesterol, blood pressure, pain. I don't know which pills specifically can numb your sense of taste, but we know that there's certain medications we take that, changes the taste in our mouth. So I don't know how it relates, but if you are on medication, that could possibly be something that is affecting you. And it adds to that disinterest in food. None of us want to get to the tea and toast syndrome. That really, really is not a good one. So here's the next one. Now, this might affect some of us, especially if we're carrying a few extra pounds, especially around the stomach, which I am. But I'm happy to say that since I've been following a lot of my nutritional advice, since I'm teaching 7 Healing Foods, I'm teaching this class, I'm teaching all these amazing health and wellness classes to all of you learners, it's really made me kind of step it up. I've got my, lemon warm water this morning. I've got my jar of water to keep making sure I'm hydrated. My shirt's a little bit loose, so I'm feeling, okay, maybe what I'm doing is helping. But here is a fact. Number 4 is very, very important. As we age, our intestines, our ability to absorb our nutrients starts to decrease. It can. Now, not necessarily, but typically, we start to absorb less of our nutrients. So that's even more important why we have to make sure we eat those nutrient-dense foods to get those vitamins and minerals into our bodies. Now, you can go as far as Googling and finding out, okay, I'm low in iron. What do I need to eat with my iron foods like spinach to make sure that I absorb maximum? For example, spinach, you want to put some citrus, put a squeeze of lemon on it. The citric helps you to absorb the iron better. So if there is something that your doctor has said you're low in, I would suggest that you do a little research, or you can ask me the question and I can look it up for you to make sure I look it on good sources, proper sources. For example, in another class, I talk about turmeric. So I'll just give you an example. Turmeric is a spice, that yellow spice, and that is really, really good for lowering inflammation in our body. So this is just an example. How do I get the best absorption of turmeric? Well, I learned this actually from a learner. I looked it up and went, whoa, that makes sense. So now I added it to the recipe that you get in the 7 Healing Foods, the turmeric, with the recipe with turmeric. I added a little bit of black pepper. If you put turmeric with black pepper, the black pepper helps to absorb more of the turmeric in your body. So there's an example of the two coming together, the citric with the iron foods, like with the spinach. So if we know that our intestines tend to absorb a little bit less, and not only that, our digestion can slow down and it takes us longer to empty our stomachs. Now, one of the amazing things about that is, I don't know if you've noticed, but as you're aging, if you eat slower, and I'm a pretty slow eater, but if you eat slower, which they've always told us, you eat slower, and guess what? You feel fuller, and you might not go for that second helping. And that's because if you allowed yourself to eat over 20 minutes, that's about the time frame, 20 minutes, your stomach is going to feel full And it'll send the message up to the brain to say, oh, I'm full. And so you don't go for that huge second helping. Our digestion tends to slow down a little bit as we age, so it takes longer to empty our stomachs. So this is just a fact when it comes to gastrointestinal issues. So sometimes if we have differences that affect our nutrition. You know how I mentioned about the muscle mass in our bodies? Well, this is a surprise. We have that muscle mass also up in our jaws. So as we get older, if we don't have the muscle mass up here, it might be harder for chewing. I had my grandmother had this issue. She was a healthy lady. She, throughout her whole life, she was a pretty healthy lady. In her older years, she started having trouble swallowing. Now, I don't know where that came from, but it's just kind of a thing. She would have to really make sure she chewed her food really well, which we all should be doing anyways. It really helps because they say digestion starts in the mouth. You put your food in the mouth, you chew your food to help get that digestion, the enzymes from the saliva coming into the food, that starts the digestive process. So if you're having trouble swallowing, is there anybody in the class today that's starting to notice that that's a little bit of an issue for them? If it is, I want you to take smaller bites, and I want you to really concentrate on chewing your food before you swallow. Because if I were to time people, and I've done this in other, like not this class, but in my other life, other outside of Get Set Up, we do a thing where it's like you make your beautiful meal, and then just set the timer, and then just put it to the side and enjoy your meal. Do you know how the average amount of people that eat in like about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes? Isn't that crazy? We're not even chewing our food. We're taking one bite. You should at least chew it at least once or twice, but we're putting it in our mouth. One bite, swallow, one bite, swallow. That's another whole topic, but we aren't chewing our food. If you time yourself, I'd like you to do that and then report back to me how long it takes you to eat your meal. Now, if you tend to be a slower eater, kudos to you, because that's a healthier way of eating, is to not have the TV on if you can at all help. You don't want to be eating stressful stuff like the news while you're eating, or listening to the radio is totally fine. But if you're sitting there doing something else like watching TV while you eat, you're not paying attention and you're wolfing your food down. Here's one that's big. This is a big one. And if I only knew this when I was younger, when it came to dental, if any of you have been lucky enough to have a dental plan with your, say, wherever you worked, like I'm so happy for you, because our dental health is so important. So going for regular checkups, going at least once a year to get your teeth cleaned and checked to make sure that there's no issues. Nowadays, they do checks. Like when I go to the dentist, she checks, I don't know, she'll check up in here. She checks, they look in your cheek. They look for, they're looking for signs of cancer, oral cancer. I don't remember them doing that when I was younger. So maybe this is a newer thing with the dentist. Does anybody else get that when they go to the dentist? Like it depends on which hygienist I get, but they do a little check up and through here to make sure there's no lumps. And, anyways, dental issues are not fun. And again, my mom had great teeth until she died. She didn't have any dental issues, but my dad, when he was growing up, they didn't have dental plans and all that stuff. I mean, they were lucky if they got to the dentist. I don't even know if he really did go to the dentist for the first so many years of his life, but he has had so many dental issues. And when he had to get some teeth replaced, which he did finally do, he had, they put that temporary plate in. Well, can you even chew with that thing in? Not great. So he stopped eating nuts that he enjoyed. He stopped eating, I don't know, he couldn't eat steak. He couldn't eat protein like the steak and things like that. So it affected his nutrition. So dental care is very, very important because it will interfere with our ability to chew. And if you're not chewing your food properly, you're not getting that digestive started in your mouth. And then what happens? What happens when we do that? This is exactly what happened to my dad. He just stopped making nutritious food. He was just making simple things like soup can be nutritious, but he just kind of got disinterested because he couldn't chew. He did not want to get things stuck in his teeth. So he just stopped eating those things, like nuts and seeds, like beautiful foods for us. Nuts and seeds, beautiful nuts and seeds, great healthy fats. He couldn't eat any of those, so he just stopped eating them. All right, let's move on to, we're going to talk just about basic nutrition now. So because we've gone through the 4 factors, and I can repeat those back again if anybody's forgotten or if anybody's taking notes. Balanced nutrition contains what? We've got our macronutrients, macro meaning the large, and we've got our micronutrients, which is the tiny, the small. This is it. This is the basis of all diets. We've got our macros, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, our healthy fats. That is basic nutrition down to the bare bones, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. If you look at any diet out there, like I can break down any diet for you. You know, the Mediterranean diet is high in healthy fats. It's all a manipulation of those 3 macronutrients. Any single diet out there is a manipulation of these 3 macros. So keto, what's keto? Does anybody ever done the keto diet? It's trying to get you into ketosis. It's basically trying to get you into fat burning and not sugar burning. So what do you have to eliminate? Almost eliminate. You got to eliminate all your carbohydrate foods. Because carbohydrate, what does that do? Most like complex carbohydrates take a longer time, but we still need carbs. But the carbohydrate rich foods like the breads and, you know, the fast, simple carbs turn to sugar. Then you're in sugar burning. So if you're a keto diet person, you got very limited carbs, higher in protein and quite a bit higher in fats because the healthy fats promote you to get into fat burning. Okay, pick another diet like, what about in the 70s or was it 70s, 80s when it was all low fat? Everything was low fat. Do you remember those days where it was like, they didn't care about the carbs? I guess you could eat bread, a lot of bread, but don't you dare have any fat in your food. Again, manipulation of carbs, protein, and fat, low fats. I don't know of any diets that have low protein. Well, okay, not necessarily when you're vegetarian or vegan. You still need protein, but you're probably eating a lot less protein when you're on a vegan diet or a vegetarian style diet. Then there's those diets where it's, you know, it was called the zone diet, I think, way back when. I think there was something about the zones, and it was an equal amount of carbs, proteins, and fats. I can't quite remember, but my point is that any diet is a manipulation of these 3 macros. What else do we have? We got the micros. What are micronutrients? There are vitamins and our minerals, period. We need vitamins and minerals. We need specific vitamins for things. We need specific minerals for things. Healthy hair, healthy nails, digesting, processing our food. So we've got macros. We all know the 3 macros now. We got the micros, the vitamins and the minerals. All right, so we're going to go into, so now, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing just for a second because we're going to talk about those last 3 things. Let's see. I don't think there's any questions. Yeah, nobody's put any questions in the chat, so that's fine. Does anybody have any questions from anything we've learned so far? So we're doing really well for time. Does anybody have a story or anything they want to talk about? Like if you have an older parent, the whole tea and toast syndrome, and we kind of smile at that, but I don't know, I've done that too because we don't have kids, so it's easy to go, I'm not that hungry. Why don't we just make, I don't want to use the name, but we'll make like a Lipton soup, or we'll just open a can of soup. Mind you, it's full of sodium, so it's not like we're low in sodium, but what's a go-to once in a while? My husband and I think that's probably what we'll, oh, okay, no, I just thought of one that we do. I'm embarrassed to say that we have done this, and sometimes maybe we throw a little bit of broccoli in it, but we will, if we're like really, really, really not feeling like cooking and we're lazy, if we have a box of Kraft dinner, I said it. I'm a nutritionist, but I said it. We'll do craft. I'll say to him, oh, just make craft dinner because I just can't think of anything to eat. He'll make the craft dinner. We either put in our little wieners, like beef wieners, like the little pieces, like, you know, when you're a kid and you put the little wieners in there, or broccoli. And we'll sit there and eat our craft dinner for our dinner. Anybody else have a story like that?
I'm a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't like to cook every day, but I will go to the store and get a bunch of fresh vegetables, the zucchinis, the squashes, the carrots, sweet onions, and sweet potatoes. And I'll put them on a baking tray or a cookie sheet, and I'll throw them in the broiler. And I make that big bowl, and then I can just scoop out some and put it in the microwave. And
Love that.
that's been a saving grace for me.
I love that idea. Isn't it nice? Roasted vegetables are so amazing and delicious and so easy to do. And you did some variety. So I would imagine there's a bit of a rainbow there, which I always encourage people to like eat the rainbow. Eat like, you know, the colors in the rainbow. Great idea.
The other thing too is I have a sweet tooth, but sweet potatoes and the cherry tomatoes satisfies that sweet tooth. Love
that. Yes, it's so true. Like right now I'm doing a very specific, you know, I don't want to call it a diet, it's a lifestyle, because I've cut out all the sweet foods. So cutting out all refined sugar. I'm just giving my pancreas a little bit of a break right now. My husband and I are doing this for maybe 4 weeks. So we had to actually cut out sweet potato because there is a beautiful sweetness to sweet potato. So I'm not eating carrots, beets, sweet potato, any of the sweet vegetables. But I love your idea. That's an excellent idea. And I will admit, I haven't put this in this class, but boy, doing prep work is amazing. Like Sundays, we do always a roast of something. So roast chicken, a roast beef, you know, we're eating meat eaters. And my husband, Dan, will do that. He'll do roast vegetables. And then we've got some leftovers that are actually really tasty leftovers. Because I mean, gosh, you know, making a thing of craft dinner, like there are no minerals and vitamins in craft dinner. I don't think there's anything. One thing they have upgraded is that they don't use that, you know, color number whatever, which you know is all chemicals. They actually put turmeric in the craft dinner, maybe here in Canada, maybe where you are as well, because I know sometimes it can be different, for the coloring, for that beautiful yellow color. So they're taking away that chemical color. Anything with a number something, number 3, number 2, whatever coloring, is all chemicals, terrible for you. Like just picture, what's that cereal? What's the cereal with all the colors? Well, there's lots of cereals with different colors. The one we used to eat when we were kids, that's all coloring in there.
Fruit Loops.
Yeah. Yes, Fruit Loops, that's it. Yeah, Fruit Loops. Do you think that blue color came from, I don't know, but maybe they're improving it. Maybe the blue color comes from blueberry extract now. Who knows? I haven't looked at cereal boxes in a long time. But craft dinner, yeah, I think they have got the turmeric in there. All right, so we're all doing well. I'm going to just keep going because we're going to just finish up the last few slides here. Okay, so these are the nutrients that, you guys can all see my screen? Yeah, okay, good. So these are the 3 nutrients that I want you to be really, 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 really aware of in our older years. Number 1 is the omega-3 fatty acids. I can't say enough about omega-3 fatty acids. There are omega-3s, and don't confuse that with omega-6s. We do still need omega-6 because we don't get those in our body. What it means is we don't produce it in our body. For example, if I get lots of sunshine, which is not today, but if I were to get lots of sunshine on my face, my body has the ability to create vitamin D. You hear that story, right? About creating vitamin D. We cannot create omega-3 fatty acids. You have to get it in what you ingest. There's omega-3s, there are omega-6s. The omega-6s we all get enough of. It comes from plant oils and other things. We always eat in abundance. Generally, typically, we all eat in abundance. You want a nice ratio between omega-3s and omega-6s. We are always like way out of sorts with omega-6s, and our omega-3s are lacking. So to prevent to reduce inflammation in our bodies, to help to prevent cancer, to reduce our rheumatoid arthritis, and to help with heart disease. Omega-3s are mandatory. Where do we find them? Tuna, sardines, mackerel, that salmon. Salmon's a really great one to get because these are the oily fishes. You get the oily fishes, you get the omega-3s. Where else? If you're, say you're vegetarian, flax seeds. Flax seeds are a great way. Now, you can buy flaxseed meal, like where they grind them down. I buy it at Costco. It's a big bag. I saw somebody else showed me their big bag of flaxseed meal. You get it from your health food store, some grocery stores. You can buy flaxseed meal in the bulk areas. So we have a place called the Bulk Barn, and it sells flaxseed meal. I want you to bring it home, and if you open it, put it in your fridge because it can go rancid. It can go bad easily because of all those beautiful oils in there. So you're doing your body harm putting rancid oils in your body. So don't do that if you can. I go with, well, I don't have my little glass, but I take a big tablespoon of flaxseed meal. I put warm water. I put a little bit of cinnamon in mine just to add some flavor, but you can add a little bit of honey if you need to. And I drink that every morning. First, it helps you for the bathroom experiences. But it also, because it kind of plumps up, like, and you put it in water, and that's what they call a flax egg. So if you're vegetarian and you don't eat eggs, or you're vegan and you don't eat eggs, you can make a flax egg. If you see that in a recipe, that's what that means. You take the 1 teaspoon of flax with water, and it becomes your egg substitute in your baking or whatever you're making. The other seeds, like hemp seeds, are also high in omega-3s. And another one that a lot of us maybe have tried making puddings with, chia seeds, and they swell up as well. So you put that in a bit of water and it swells up. That is a beautiful way of getting your omega-3s in your bodies. And then, of course, nuts like walnuts are really high in omega-3s. I love walnuts. That is my go-to snack at night. Like last night, I get my husband to count it out, 5 walnuts, 5 walnut pieces. And that was my little crunchy, instead of eating chips at night. I had that before, not right before bed, but like as my night snack. All right, so I think hopefully we're clear on omega-3s and how important this one is for us, especially as we're older adults. The next one is calcium. Now, when I want you to think of calcium, I don't want you to think of a cow. I'm not against anybody who drinks milk and who eats dairy. That's not what the purpose of this is. But when you think of calcium, look at the picture. That's what I want you to think of for calcium, because that's where you're going to get your calcium-rich foods. It's your dark green leafy vegetables. So your spinaches, your kale, your collard greens, all of those things. You need that kind of calcium. Now, we don't have time in this class to talk about if we get calcium from our dairy, because there's a whole different thing that happens. Is yes, you can get some calcium from your milk. It's not like the commercials of the 70s, drink milk, get your calcium, because your body actually has to do some weird thing to use the calcium from the milk, not when it eats dark green leafy vegetables. It's hard sometimes to get this into our diet. For example, here's a tip. When you make any soup from now on, I buy it at Walmart, but it comes in a bag, and it's the chopped spinach. The spinach, you open the bag and they're like cubes of spinach. Has anybody bought it like that? In the past, it was sort of like the size of, let's see, maybe not, okay. The packages were kind of like this size, and they came in the white paper, and you took the paper off, and it was in a white carton, and the chopped spinach was in a thing like this, and it was solid, like solid ice. So you would have to thaw the whole thing out. That was kind of a pain. Well, lately, just recently, probably in the last couple of months, I've noticed it's like they've frozen them in cubes, like in ice cube trays, and they put them in a bag. So all you do is you put your hand in there and you grab 1 cube. From now on, anytime you make soup, or what's another thing I put it in? Well, when I make my dal, like when you make a pea soup, like the dal, an Indian dal, I throw a cube of this chopped spinach in there. We have been getting tons of our dark green leafy vegetables because of it. Also in our smoothie, You know, even if you make it as a fruit smoothie, you can throw that 1 cube of spinach in there and oh my gosh, you're getting all this great dark green leafy vegetable in your smoothie in the morning. Another great tip. Calcium helps to reduce your blood pressure. So if you've got high blood pressure, you might not have enough calcium in your body. It's very, very important. Okay, so omega-3 fatty acids, calcium. And what's the third one I'm going to suggest? Fiber. If you start counting how much fiber you're having every day, I can almost guarantee you're not having enough fiber. None of us seem to get enough fiber. I'm not saying go out and eat like a loaf of bread. You can get fiber and all sorts of other things. One of the huge ways of getting fiber is eating vegetables. What's one of the big fiber vegetables that's quite delicious? And I tell you, whenever I eat this vegetable, my next day's morning experience is pretty great. Broccoli. Broccoli has a huge amount of fiber, beautiful fiber in it. It's like soft when you steam broccoli just so nicely. When you're crunching into that fiber, it's this beautiful soluble fiber that goes into your body and helps to flush the pipes kind of. You can get fiber from nuts, from whole grain cereals, which I would say limit the amount of whole grain cereals you're eating. Whole grain breads and pastas. There's lots of beautiful brown rice pastas. So if you're trying to stay away from gluten, there's many, many options now. Again, for fiber, you get in your chia seeds, your fruits and your vegetables. For any of you that might be pre-diabetic or diabetic, I don't want you to be afraid of eating fruit. So I bring that up right now because fruit is so amazing with the amount of lovely soluble and sometimes insoluble, but soluble fibers that your body needs. Plus the vitamins and minerals, because most fruits, I would say most fruits and vegetables are nutrient dense foods, which we've talked about, the nutrient dense foods. And those are the three that I wanted to talk about. So just in summary, for the end of this class, what we've learned today, some really interesting things about how nutrition looks different as we age. We really went through those 4 factors that affect nutrition in our older adult years. Our nutrition basics. Now we're all experts. Do we feel like experts? We know our macronutrients. What are they again? Protein, the carbs, healthy fats, and the micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. That is the basics of nutrition. And all diets are based on those three macros. And the last 3 things, let's just name them again, are omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, and our fiber. So those are the 3 things. I could have thrown 10 things at you, but what's the point? I picked the 3 that I feel are probably the most important as we age to improve on our nutrition. Do I have any questions? We have a couple minutes left. You've been all very quiet today, which is fine. It depends. Sometimes classes are really, well, it just depends on the class, I guess. But there was a lot to learn in this one, things that you might not have heard before. And before I started really studying the sort of older population, and that's become my big focus because I'm one of you now. I'm in there. I'm just turned 55 last year. So this year I'm turning 56. That's when in Canada we're considered early senior. So I don't like the word senior. I think, I don't want to be called a senior, but it's not a bad word, but it's just older adult sounds much, much nicer, I think. Right, Laura? I think you're agreeing with me. Older adult's way better than senior. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that you might have, you want me to go back to? Well, actually, I'm not showing the screen anymore, but if not, we can.
You know what I have? Oh, it's Laura again. I've taken several classes, a couple twice, just because it's a lot to remember. I knew a lot and still work with food and do it for a living, but work with the team. I'm just on the deliveries. So anyways, I've learned a couple reminders and so forth. The Mediterranean diet being, which is helpful. So I know that it's a healthy fats, and I did keto for several years actually. It was actually real good for me. I don't know if I want to do it anymore. I haven't been really. So do you have any tips for the Mediterranean go-tos? You know, like I need
Sure.
Kalamata olives, some of those things. What you didn't mention. I mean, you have so much to talk about. You do a great
Sure.
job, but is there a couple go-tos?
I can absolutely talk. So the Mediterranean diet is actually one of the, healthier diets, I would say. Before I talk about Mediterranean, I'll just say really quick, for any of you that are on, have tried keto or you've heard about it, because that's the latest fad right now. There is nothing wrong with a keto diet if you've got a healthy kidney and your organs are kind of in good shape, because you do put a little bit of strain on your kidney if you're in ketosis all the time. As a nutritionist and with a nursing degree, I would say, please, if you're going to do keto diet or keto lifestyle, do it for 6 to 8 weeks. You need to cycle with this 6 to 8 weeks, then get off of it and just sort of eat kind of a little bit, more quote normal, and then give yourself a break and then go back on keto if you feel like it was good for you. And for many of us, we melt fat when we're in the ketosis or keto. So for any of you who wanted to know about that, my suggestion and recommendation is that you do it for only 6 weeks to 8 weeks and then go off it and then maybe come back. Now, to answer Laura's question about Mediterranean diet is an amazing, again, it's looking at protein, fats, and carbs. What Mediterranean emphasizes is the healthy fats. Where do we get our healthy fats? Olives, whole olives. Olive oil is a lovely oil to use, not necessarily for cooking, but for sprinkling on our salads, like finishing your dish. So if you can have the cold pressed extra virgin olive oil is the best one. You're getting those beautiful healthy fats to bring up your good HDL in your body, which is the good cholesterol. So we got olives, we've got the healthy olive oil. Coconut oil is also a very healthy fat. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not healthy. You can cook at a high level with coconut oil. And then your nuts and your seeds are another really great source of healthy fats. So those are just a couple examples, but the Mediterranean diet there is meat in it. You can have beautiful cuts of meat, and it's okay to have some marbling of fat in there. It's okay. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. Does anybody else have a quick question before I'm going to just hit the record button now, stop the recording. We're at 9 o'clock. Anybody who wants to stick around for a minute or two, if they have another question to ask me or want to ask me more in private, you're welcome to stay on. Otherwise, I will see you hopefully maybe in the next class.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. You're welcome, Laura. You're welcome, Dee Dee. Yeah,
Thank you, Ravina. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for helping out. Thanks, Nadine, for your comments on the roasted vegetables. That's a really wonderful idea. Okay, take care, everybody. Great to see you all. Bye-bye.